realize we live in a world in which we really need to just breathe and relax sometimes. And the idea of meditation and breath work is really starting to be on an upward trend. And so I wanted to bring to you something that I do to sort of allow me to get deeper into those methods of relaxation. So as you see here, I have this small device that looks kind of like a pacifier, maybe a whistle of some sort, but this is called the Relaxator, okay? Now, this really simple device allows you to extend the exhale when you're doing breath work. And so you can do this in moments of stress, you can do this in moments of meditation. When you find yourself getting a little bit stressed out, you're maybe shallow breathing. I think many of you understand that when we do shallow breathing, we're activating the sympathetic nervous system. And this is not something that we want to be in all the time. We don't want to be in this state chronically. Those states are beneficial when we are exercising, for instance, or when we get scared, or we want to do something that requires us to have adrenaline or a bout of energy. Those moments are good, but we don't want to stay there chronically. So we want to learn how to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, and that is known as the rest and digest, okay? So whether you want to go into meditation, whether you're sitting at your desk, you're doing some work and it's stressful, you realize that you're about to meet a deadline, but it's getting, really close. Just take a moment to breathe. And of course, you don't need to have this tool. This is just a helpful tool to kind of remind you and to allow your body, your physiology to be able to get into these states faster. But if you're someone who practices meditation quite regularly, then you may not need anything like this, because quite frankly, our nose and our mouth, our body is designed perfectly. And we sort of have this built into our bodies already. Our nasal cavities, we can close one nostril, we can close another nostril, we can close both nostrils. We can even do like we did when we were babies. If you were a baby that had a pacifier, chances are you learned how to breathe through the nose while having something in your mouth. This is what you do when you breastfeed. This is what you do when you have a pacifier in. So the Relaxator, back to what this is. So if you notice here on the Relaxator, there's a small opening, and this spins around, okay, to either open that small opening or to close it. And the importance of that is you essentially want to slow the exhale, which is the relaxating, the parasympathetic portion of our breathing, our heart rate variability. That changes when we do our breathing. So if you were to monitor your heart rate or your heartbeat or your pulse or your oxygen levels, when we take an in-breath, when we inhale, chances are that depending on how soft that inhale is, you will raise your heart rate. You will be activating. That's the sympathetic part of the breathing cycle. When we exhale, when we let air out softly, then that usually stimulates the parasympathetic response. And so it makes sense that if we are trying to calm ourselves down, you want to have something in place that allows you to slow down the out breath. So again, I used to do this with clients. I used to tell clients to put to breathe through their teeth like this, to slow down and create pressure within the body cavity, to slow down that exhale. And it's really interesting because when I have people do that, I notice that they're after doing it, because it's like it's a little bit too much work. And that's what you don't want to do. You want this to be as calm and relaxing as possible. And everyone has a bit of a different style to this. So I don't like to get dogmatic when it comes to breath work. It's do what works for you, but just check in regularly. And having something dangling around your neck might help you do so. It's nice green and blue, and it's hanging around your neck, and you might have people ask, oh, what is that? oh, this is the Relaxator. Well, what does it do? Well, it helps me to relax. And it's a great tool to help slow down my out breath, which then we are offloading CO2. We are allowing the body to be able to take in more oxygen. That's the overall goal of this, is to be able to allow the body to have better oxygen utilization, okay? So this is what it looks like. You set this up by dictating where you want to start, and there's numbers that coincide with the level of the opening. And so usually I start out at around 3. I ask my clients and people who are asking me about this, I ask them to start at around level 3 and then just see what that feels like. Maybe you want to take it to level 5, which level 5 is going to have the smallest opening. This is very, very tiny, very small opening there. So when you do that, you're only able to breathe out but so much air because it's such a small opening. And then you go to level 1, and that's the widest opening, and that's the hardest to slow down. So that's when you get to a point where you can teach your body to slow down the breath on its own. And you know, there's popular breathing practices in yoga and various other forms of breath work in which you can learn how to kind of close off the throat, or you can breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, which has almost like a natural relaxator device on each side. And so you don't have to have this, but this is a really good tool to be able to practice that. So I'll show you exactly how I do it. I'm gonna put this on level 3, and this is what I do. So put it in the mouth. You don't want to tense it up on the mouth either. You want to be nice and relaxed when you put this in. So I'm going to put it in, breathe through the nose, inhale through the nose, soft inhale. And then exhale out of the relaxator. Or if you're at home practicing this, if you want to try to determine if this is something for you, then you can try this with a straw. You can try this with a whistle, right? Like a whistle is similar to this. And maybe you can just put your finger on the opening of the whistle to slow down or to open up the exhale. So this is what it looks like and sounds like. I'll do a few rounds of this, and maybe you can practice. And then what I want you to really take note on is how you feel, and watch how I feel after doing a few rounds of this. If you find yourself really grasping for air after you do this, then chances are the resistance was too great, as in the opening was too wide. But chances are, if you're really slowing down your breath, then you will be able to far better utilize oxygen throughout your entire body, which then has a downstream and upstream effect of all kinds of things, from better sleep to better fat burning to a whole host of things, okay? So here we go. A few rounds of this. Okay, so what I did there was a few examples of breathing in the nose slowly, out through the mouth, through the relaxator slowly. And what I like to work on is I try to focus on having 2 to 3 times the duration of my exhale as I do for my inhale. So an example might be if I breathe in, if I inhale softly for 2 to 3 seconds, then I want to have my exhale to be 6 to 9 seconds, maybe even 10 seconds. And it's easier to do when you have a device like this, I feel. But then when I took this out my mouth, I did a few rounds in which I breathed through my teeth. And then I did the last round in which I inhaled through the nose and then I exhaled out the nose. But when you play around with this, you can kind of see the differences between all of those. So this is the Relaxator, one of my favorite devices. I will drop a link to get your very own Relaxator in the description below. Also, throughout the description, I'm going to explain all the things that we've seen in working with the folks at Conscious Breathing, and also just my endeavors with experimenting with this over the years. And it's a very simple tool, but highly effective. So if you like this, if you've tried it, or if you're curious about it, feel free to ask questions in the comments. Also, feel free to give feedback. This is something that's very helpful because when people come across this video, they also get a chance to kind of see the thread. And then if you like this kind of content, let me know and I'll roll out with a lot more. So this is Relaxator. I'm JoshuaJHolland. Thank you for your time. Peace.